everybody has a hero to look to in life to say, I want to be like that when I grow up. And I wanted to be that for my kids. I wanted to be that for my grandkids. And I was so far from that at that point. The person I saw of me and myself on the inside compared to who I was on the outside was so far apart. That was my motivation. I didn't need a vision board with a fancy car and a nice house and a like all the things that money can buy. Those weren't the things that excited me and drove me and motivated me. It was the identity that I was chasing of what all that stuff could do, what it could provide. I wanted to be that example. I wanted to be the hero.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Insurance Isn't Boring. Joined as always by my good friend and running buddy Elijah Carujo. And we have a very high octane guest today, Mr. Brad Smith. Just as a little bit of background on Brad for everybody, he's at the very top of the company, managing partner. He is an elite producer, an advisory board member, an equity partner. He has 350 active monthly writers, and his team is on track to do 23 million in premiums this year, which is absolutely insane. And so we're really excited to get to have him on here, pick his brain a little bit, and share with you guys. Brad, how's your Friday going?
It's going great. It's semi slow, but not as slow as normal, but it's good.
So Fridays are the
How about you
best.
guys? Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
We're fresh off a tropical vacation. I got a base layer of a tan coming into winter, which is nice.
You
I
look good.
left looking quite a few shades whiter than I am today, so that's good.
Great. I'm jealous.
But we got to go on one of the beautiful things about this business is all the travel that you get to do, and it's not travel to boring places either. We were in Punta Cana. I know a bunch of you guys in the Pritchett hierarchy were in Cancun last week too. But yeah, we were on vacation. We got no production to show for it, which is nice. Nice to not have to. I've been on many trips where I had to sneak away for a couple hours and run a couple appointments, but this was not one of those. But doing great, man. Doing great. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, I wish I could say I was in Cancun last week. There's a bunch of people from Pritchard. I wasn't one of them. But
You start winning so many, you can't go to every single one.
yeah,
It'd be a lot. It'd be a lot.
we we
Go
wanted
ahead,
to kick
Sam.
this off by, obviously anyone in Symmetry knows who you are, but not necessarily everybody knows your story. So we wanted to start there. And I just wanted to say, you have always been my first conference I ever went to was in 2023 in Denver. And they kicked it off with you came into the crowd giving a very motivational speech. And I was just very impressed with the way that you addressed everybody. I was like, man, this company's the real deal. And so, again, selfishly, I don't know your full background either. So we'd love, kind of before we hop into some of the other topics, to hear what were you doing before insurance? How did you find Symmetry? And you've had a very impressive trajectory. So kind of a little bit of what that's looked like.
yeah. That wasn't that long ago that I did that speech coming from
I
the
know,
audience.
I know.
I'm actually getting ready to put that recording out. I haven't put the recording out.
Ooh, we'll share that. I remember my first conference too. It was the hokey pokey speech. Put your
Yeah.
whole self in. That is the one at my first that I remember.
Yeah.
Solid.
Every speech that I've done and written has really been written to me. I've written it
Mm,
for me. Things
mm.
that I've needed to hear, whether it was back then or right now, at some point, but it's always been to me. But yeah, my background, I mean, coming into Symmetry, I've always been an entrepreneur as long as I can remember. And my brother Matt and I, identical twin, we started here in 2013. So it's been 12 and a half years since we started. And we had closed a business down after almost 10 years. Any entrepreneurs that have put their life into a business, they understand that it's not just the time and money they put into it. It's like their identity.
Mm.
And so when that closed after 10 years, not only did we walk away with like $285,000 of debt with nothing to show for it.
That's tough.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I've always been so appreciative for supportive parents. But they believed in us a little too much, and they co-signed those loans.
Oh, no. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So we didn't have an option of declaring bankruptcy. It was just like, not that I even would have wanted to, because it's like I knew I got myself into this situation. The economy had turned around and we just weren't ready for it. We didn't have the experience. But anyway, we walked away with $285,000 in debt, and almost a year had passed, and trying to figure out what I want to do. And I'd never created a resume. I was 34 years old, never created a resume because I just worked for myself. And so I maxed out on every credit card. When I started with Symmetry, I had $142 in the checking account, no access to any money. And I remember hearing something from John Maxwell that he said something, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something around, when you're in a really bad situation, when you figure out how to get out, that's how you figure out how to become a millionaire.
Mm,
Because when you can get out of debt, now you figure out how to make enough money that you can become a millionaire. And so Matt and I would he would be down, I would be up and lift him up, and I would be down, he'd be up and lift me up. And I think that's huge to have a running buddy like that. And it looks like maybe you guys are that for each other. And
definitely.
it's huge.
It's a game changer.
It really is. So yeah, so we got started after about a year. A friend of mine called me, and he was like, I know how bad things are. He didn't know I was sleeping in the guest bedroom. And like, I mean, it affects everything. It
For
affects
sure.
your self-image, your self-confidence, your relationships, your sleep, your stress. When you cannot figure out how you're going to get out of the situation, it's like your entire I really think that your identity is tied to the future that you can see.
Mm,
Unless you're chasing who you used to be. At that time, I was chasing who I wanted to be. And so the vision that I had for myself and for where I was going, that was the identity that I was chasing. So once that business was gone, it's just like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know where I'm going. And it's just like this pit in your chest that never goes away. And you wake up at 2 in the morning trying to figure out how I'm going to pay the bills, how am I going to keep the lights on. And you just know that it's just a matter of time before your spouse starts to look at you differently, before you start to look at yourself differently. And it's kind of a scary place to be.
yeah.
So I found Symmetry. A friend of mine called me, and this is a really good friend who's could have been a stand-up comedian. He's just really funny and just great guy to hang out with and be around, but not the kind of guy you would take financial advice from. He's just a truck driver and always struggling and, hopping from one opportunity to the next. And he said, I know how bad things are, but you need to look at this. I think you'd be great. And I said, man, I appreciate you thinking about it. What is it? He said, it's insurance. And I asked you this before, but I said, man, things are bad, but they're not that. And I just didn't know what this industry was. The only experience I had was I had a couple of people that were friends of mine that did really well, but everybody avoided them.
Mm,
Because 99% of this industry is talking to friends and family, making a list, trying to get referrals and nagging people. And I didn't want that reputation. So, but he said, no, it's all based on leads. So anyway, I went to the corporate office, and after about 2 months of him having success, he made 10 grand his first month, 9 grand his second month. And this was again, 12 and a half years ago. And there was a couple of things that attracted me to Symmetry. Um, and I'm not trying to recruit anybody that's not with Symmetry. I'm not trying to recruit anybody to Symmetry. It was just an eye opener to me because I just had this image of what insurance was, and I saw something different. And one is that there was a proven system, and it seemed simple because they had leads. I never had heard of leads before. You know,
crazy that it's a foreign concept to so many insurance agents too.
yeah. And then a script that I could learn in a really quick amount of time. And there were people, like, I talked to probably 15 people in the room, and they were all having success, anywhere from a part-time guy making $800 that week to a full-time guy making 19,000 that week. And I met Brandon and Casey, and here's the biggest thing that stood out. I expected to walk into this like sales, like slick people in suits that were all about the leaderboards and doing whatever it took to get on top. And, it's not what I wanted. I was so desperate that I was willing to get into that environment temporarily to get out and figure out what I really wanted to do. But when I sat there, I realized, man, these are my kind of people. These are people just like me. They were humble, they were smiling, they were happy. When I talked to them about what they did every day, they enjoyed it. They were doing production kind of on a part-time basis, making a full-time income, also building a team. They had a system. And I was just like, I think I could do this. So part-time for the first 2 months, and I made also over 10,000 my first. Well, no, I think my first month was $9,100 of income. My second month was a little over 10,000, and then I went full-time. And I just decided in that first interview, it was with Edward Pritchett. In fact, there were 4 people in the room. So it was 4 people on one side of the desk and me. It was Edward Pritchett, Brian Delaney, Griff Martin, and a guy named Doug Suttonfield. I think he's still with Symmetry. And, uh, and I had a year that had passed when we had closed our business down, and I knew what I wanted. And I didn't realize that that was a unique thing. I didn't
Mm.
realize that most people don't know what they want. They know what they don't want, but they don't actually know what they want. And so Edward Pritchett asked me, "What are you looking for? What do you want in your next career?" And I said, "Well, there's 3 things. One is I wanna make a difference. I wanna help people because to me, I can get out of bed and be passionate. That's the number 2 thing. I wanna be passionate about what I do. And some people have never had this, but a lot of people have where you don't need an alarm clock to wake yourself up every day. There's something that just excites you about what you do. It doesn't feel like work, and you can't wait to do it. And to me, that passion and helping people and making a difference go hand in hand. So those were the first 2. And the third thing I said is I wanna make a lot of money.
I think we
And
can all relate to that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I used to be kinda timid about saying it, but there's a lot of great impact you can have in the world when you have money, and there's a lot of freedom, flexibility, and I don't know if you guys have kids?
Yeah, just a couple of dogs,
Okay,
but we will.
so you will. So I had 2 kids at the time, now I have 3, and I wanted to be an example of what's possible. Like, everybody has a hero to look to in life, to say, "I wanna be like that when I grow up." And I wanted to be that for my kids. I wanted to be that for my grandkids, and I was so far from that at that point. Like, the person I saw, of me and myself on the inside compared to who I was on the outside was so far apart. That was my motivation. I didn't need a vision board with a fancy car and a nice house and like, all the things that money can buy. Those weren't the things that excited me and drove me and motivated me. It was the identity that I was chasing of what all that stuff could do, what it could provide. I wanted to be that example. I wanted to be the hero, and I just wanted to my mindset was if somebody else can do it, why not me?
Mm.
It's possible. There's other people that have done it, so why not me? So that's what I said. Those are the 3 things, and he said, "You found the right company in the right industry. That's what we do." So fast forward to make a long story short, 18 months, we finally had all that debt paid off. We started building a team, and we went from nothing to within 8 months, we grew the agency to 100,000 a month. 4 months later, we were at 200,000 a month. Within 18 months of being here, we were at 300,000 a month. Within 24 months, we were at 400,000 a month. And it was just like this exponential growth. And it was so fun. It was so exciting. And I realized that even though I was living in an 800 square foot house that was built in the 50s and never been updated, I was, had a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old at the time. Our house was sinking on one side. I'm telling, if you guys could see it, my daughter's room was really meant to be a sewing room. It was a tiny little room, but it was literally sinking. We had to put a 2x4 under one side of her dresser to keep the picture frames from sliding. You could put a ball on one side of the room and just have it roll to the other. And the shower we had was like a dorm room shower. It was a corner shower with no bathtub. So we'd get a 6-inch Rubbermaid that you slide clothes under the bed. That was the bathtub for our year-and-a-half-old baby. And here's the thing, though, I was happy, and I reflect back on that. why was I so happy when I didn't have any of the stuff that I wanted? And it was because of progress, because we were making progress. And when you're making progress and you see things are like moving forward and they're growing and getting better and you're paying off debt, like we were out of debt within 18 months, still living in that
Crazy.
house. And we actually lived there for 2 years. We actually saved up, went from being 285,000 in debt to being not only debt free, but having 100,000 cash in the bank before we ended up moving out. And it was because it was like, I didn't need the stuff. I just needed to feel like things are moving forward and I had hope. And I think that's what people are missing is they just need to like get traction. If you can just get some
Mm,
traction and you start getting momentum, you start making progress, you start getting this certainty in your future and you just know that it's a matter of time at that point.
mm,
So that's kind of like the
mm.
early story of symmetry for me.
I mean, talk about humble beginnings and also starting from such a rough place. Like, this business is hard if your life is stable coming into it, at least for the first little bit. But you came into this multiple six figures in debt within less than 2 years. All of that paid off. Business is cranking 300-400K a month in sales. I feel like that wouldn't have been possible had you not had the right people around you, Brad.
100%.
And you've got some massive, you don't just have a big team, but you have big teams within your hierarchy, and a lot of people are winning. One thing I've noticed, and this will kind of be a little bit of a segue into building and culture and the things that you have to get good at in order to have a team doing that level of volume. But if I'm not mistaken, you and your brother started recruiting right away. Is that the case, or was it just the focus on sales and my daily bread, so to speak?
It was right away, not because I felt ready or because I wanted to. It was only because I told Edward that I've learned that my ideas got me where I'm at, and I'm broke and unhappy.
Mm,
And as great of ideas as I've always thought I've had, I have to just be willing to set that aside and listen to somebody who has the lifestyle that I want. You have the income and the time freedom, but also the purpose, the happiness, the impact that I want to have. And it was him and many other people that all said if I could go back in time, day one, I would have started recruiting. That's the number one regret is not recruiting early enough. So we didn't have like this, like I didn't cold market recruit for, I mean, I've never cold market recruited. I've helped team in my team cold market recruit, but I just started talking to people and it was just like, hey, I'm doing something new. It was exciting. I was excited about it and people could see I was excited about it. And it just kind of turned into a conversation that they were looking for something too. And so it just kind of grew and evolved. But yeah, we started recruiting almost in pretty much first week.
So let me ask you this, because one thing about the Pritchett hierarchy that I find unique, because I've been around for a little bit, and one thing I've noticed that y'all's multiple people in y'all's agency do is you guys have offices all over the place. People come, they work, they see it being done. There's association, they're building relationships. Would you say that having offices that people go to helped make that recruiting process and getting agents like sticky and profitable quicker? Like, was that like a key element, or was it more so just how good our system and scripts are? Because not everybody goes into
Yeah.
an office, and there's plenty of teams within Symmetry that have no offices.
Right.
But
It's definitely a combination. I personally like the separation of home and office. When people show up to an office and they see other people working, it's hard not to work. But when you're at home and you watch people watching TV and getting stuff out of the fridge, it's hard not to do that too. It's kind of like the difference of having a home gym versus going to the gym. I have a home gym, but I still go to the gym because it's something happens when you walk to the sliding glass doors and they open up and you hear music and you see people on treadmills and people lifting and you're in an environment now that and live workrooms, like we're doing live workrooms, people show up and they're just working and it's the same reason. So you can work virtually. That's the beauty about this business is you can work virtually. But if you're to me, I started working out of my house and eventually after several years, I had enough of a local team, it made sense. We wanted to open up an office to kind of work together. But I will tell you this, we've looked at the numbers. You definitely don't have to work out of an office, but the agents who do write twice as much APV as ones who don't.
Hmm.
Hmm. That's a nugget. And you guys have some heavy hitters in your office out there, and I don't know exactly where you guys are in Alabama, but I know Chris Clark, Maximilian Van Masson is out
Yeah.
there. We had him on
Oh,
too.
did you? Yeah.
I don't know if he might not be doing 100K a month had he not been in there in the trenches with you guys.
I don't think he would be. Yeah, Arkansas, but
Or
yeah,
my bad.
uh, uh, but yeah, I think it's just like he was a great producer. I think he wrote like 300 and some thousand his first year. Um, he was in Florida, isolated on his own, getting onto our Zoom calls. So he was a great producer, but by being in this environment, um, he got the confidence to start recruiting and investing way more than he would have in recruiting because every day he's like talking about what he's doing and what's working, what's not working, getting advice and seeing what other people are doing. And it just kind of accelerates everything. But you can do that virtually if you immerse yourself in the business the same way. You can't help, like, you could learn a foreign language, like going to class, reading books, getting on, uh, the apps, and you can do it that way. But it's not the same as being in the country and living there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
both work, but Max wanted it bad enough that he was willing to relocate to be in an office like that.
Yeah.
So
And he's getting crazy results now. Crazy results.
Yeah. And one of the unique things I think that we've heard a lot in this industry is you hear a lot of advice for entrepreneurship in general is have your day job, save some money up on the side so you can kind of take that leap of faith. And insurance and symmetry in particular, I've heard this story so many times where I'm not sure if it's because it's lucrative enough or the business model is proven enough where there's a lot of people coming where kind of I don't have that. I don't have an option but to succeed. Do you have any feelings on that? Because you're a bit of a serial entrepreneur, which we want to get into in a moment. I'd be curious to hear your take on that because it's rare that people because we don't have to come in and build out a marketing funnel and create a business from scratch. And do you think that's why? Is it just hey, kind of like people are finding this and they're like, I got to make this work, man. I don't have any other options.
there's something about that when you're backed into a corner. I will say everyone's in a little bit different situation. If you've got a family and you're not willing to downsize temporarily, or you don't have, maybe if you've got a nest egg saved up, you can make that transition. If you don't, you might have to be willing to take a 90-day transition period, but you've got to be very intentional with it. Brian Delaney says you can be part-time, but not half committed. It's hard to make it work though. And it's not that it's hard because the system is hard. It's because most people aren't willing to do what it takes to make that transition. You have to do your full-time job and then still treat this like it's full-time, even if it's 20 hours a week. And most people, they want that evening time, they want the weekend time. So, personally, I'm the kind of person that I will make things happen when I have to make them happen. Like, I will not let my family down.
Yeah.
So, if I'm when I was put in that position, I almost think it was a blessing that I was in as bad of a position as I was. If I
Because
had
you
a
had to make this work. There was no other
exactly.
option.
If it was comfortable, um,
It'd be easier to make excuses.
exactly, yeah. Good is an enemy of great, and a lot of people are okay, things are good. They wish they were great, but they're not willing to do what it takes to make that happen, or to it's the discomfort, it's the unknown, it's the fear of the unknown, that's really what it is, fear of the unknown. What if I'm not good enough? What if it takes longer than I'm hoping? And it probably will. So you've gotta do more than you think to you can outwork your learning curve, though. You have to it takes the work ethic and the intentionality and the focus and the plan to do it. But I mean, you can't I don't wanna say that if you're not willing to just jump in the deep end, you can't make it work. You absolutely can. Like, this is your life that you're talking about. This is your future. If you want to be tied to a 40-hour-a-week cubicle for the rest of your life, stay there. But most
Right.
people, that's not what they want. And so if you know that's not what you want, you just for yourself have to figure out what is it going to take to get out of that. It might take um 90 days, it might take 6 months. But here's what I say to people that want to make that transition. They want to make a change. What would it take for you to say, okay, now I'm ready? Would it take $10,000 in the bank? 15, 20? How much would you need to make here doing this? Figure that out, make that decision, and then you can work backwards and have an exact plan to do it. Because it's possible. Like, there's people part-time. I was one of them who made 10 grand my first month part-time, working a day and a half a week. I was working very hard, but you can do it. And there's people that have made way more than that part-time. So figure out, like, instead of just saying, well, I just need to make more money to make the transition. People are too ambiguous and vague. You got to be specific. What would make it okay for me to make this transition? When will that day come? And just define it, and then you can put a plan together.
Mm. For me, when I first found out about this, I was a skeptic. Went to my first conference because I was like, this sounds a little too good to be true. But for me, that specific number was I was working in a call center part-time as a college student, making like 1,100 a month. And I was told I could make that in a week doing insurance. I was like, when I do that, when I make 1,100 in a week part-time, I'm in. And it only took me about 90 days to make that happen while taking classes and stuff. And so it's very true. Because if it's ambiguous, how are you going to know if you hit it? It'll change.
Bingo.
You'll
Or
never
you'll hold
feel
on to
ready.
complacent. Right.
People think that they need to feel ready for it to be the time.
You'll never feel ready. You won't. You won't. One thing I want to ask you about, because you've been a part of this company through a lot of different seasons and phases and updates and crazy climates. We've gone through recessions. We haven't gone through any like real leadership changes. The founders have been incredibly consistent ever since I got here. And what a blessing that is. But when we came on, I think it was even worse when you guys came on because you guys were having to fax applications. You're driving all over places, and we didn't have the products and carriers and comp that we do now. Um, but you've been on like the tip of the spear as far as innovation goes. A lot of the technology that we as agents get to use is thanks to the efforts of you and your brother Matt. Some of them being Virtual Mentor, the Ninja Dialer, Funnel, things that allow us to communicate with clients and book appointments and manage our business. We didn't have any of that when we first started. And the insurance business as a whole, notoriously slow to change, very outdated.
Yeah.
A lot of the insurance companies have made very, very small changes in the last 30 years. But e-applications, working virtually, kind of helped usher in a new era of technology, I would say.
Yep.
Has it been hard to be creative and innovative in an industry that is, there's a lot of friction when you try to implement these things? What has that been like?
Yeah. So we had a technology business before. We actually were in the mattress. That didn't sound like it. We were in the mattress business, but everything was online. We shifted from selling in retail stores to selling on the internet. So we had a lot of experience with e-commerce, and we got into some app development as a side business. We neither one of us were developers or tech savvy, but we were problem solvers. And you can identify problems, and technology can help fix those problems or make your life easier, more efficient. And so we came into the insurance business, and we're like, people are faxing applications. I mean, I didn't even know
Taking
that was
4
a
weeks to
thing for.
get paid.
Yeah. It's like, who faxes stuff? I mean, this wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
There were no e-apps. I remember driving 2 hours to my appointments and not having the right application because you had to have a different app for every state. So if you're working in a different state, or there was a missing page in the application, and I had to drive 2 hours back, come back, I'd lose deals because of it. So I ended up getting this portable printer that I would leave in my trunk to be able to print applications on the spot. It was just so there's been a lot of change since then. But, yeah, you're right. It's like the biggest industry with the slowest change in technology, which is the biggest opportunity. It's like if you can be a part of that. Um, and COVID, you're right, that forced them to become more modern and be able to work virtually and things like that. So, um, I would say it wasn't hard to be creative. The ideas were there because there's just, like, so many problems.
So many things to improve.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, just getting to the point where because it was self-funded forever, for so long. We're trying to not just get out of debt and pay bills and things like that, but have money to be able to invest into development of new things, and it's actually been really fun, really rewarding. Um, because you see the impact that it has. It excites me to think about how we can make this opportunity better for other people coming into the business, make them more profitable, and wait till you guys see some of the things on the horizon.
I wanted to get into that a little bit. The stuff that you can't share. I mean, some stuff it's gotta be proper with how you roll out ideas. But the latest change that has really shaken things up the most for the better has been funnel, because previously the way that we're communicating with clients is we're either printing off our leads or maybe downloading a PDF, and then you grab your phone and you type in the number and you call them, and that works. But there's a more efficient way. And then comes along Ninja, which allows you to make 100 dials in an hour, with different numbers, and you can coordinate time zones. And Funnel is an even bigger innovation on top of Ninja. What are you excited about right now, Brett? What's going on behind the scenes? What do us agents, like boots on the ground, have to look forward to? What should we be focused on? Because we're creatures of habit. It's hard to change stuff when you get into a rhythm, and it can be
So
uncomfortable, but people are winning big time using it.
yeah, I mean, funnel is really the foundation of the future to me, and the innovation that's going to come out of not only symmetry but the whole industry. Um, and that's always been the vision. Even back before there was a lot of AI tools and things that are coming out, the vision was that we'd have a platform that a CRM where people could manage their leads, they could auto dial calls, automating text messages and communication, always putting the best leads in front of the agents. But Symmetry or really any insurance agents they're entrepreneurs, they're problem solvers. There's always people innovating and they're at the front lines creating new tools and new ideas. And we've seen Funnel as like a platform where those things can come to life. So if there's other ideas that agents have that we can put onto the platform, other tools. So think of it like an app store. This is something we're creating, and Brandon's really excited. We talk about this all the time, but we're going to be, and this is something I'm telling you first. We're creating an innovation lab, and it's going to have some AI developers. It's going to have some top producers, team builders, and there's just so much advancement with AI. There's so many tools being developed that can be incorporated to what we do. Reporting tools, patient AI, from AI texting to AI calling and dialing and appointment setting, and all this is going to be tested and trialed. But wait till you see some of the things. We've got at least 10 things right now in the works. And yeah, so next year, there's just so much advancement so fast. And it's none of it is made to replace the agent. It's
Yeah,
all
that's the
made.
thing. That's the thing.
Yes. That's the power of symmetry is we've got this huge field force, and I do think that people want to work with people, but there's ways for tools and AI to enhance that. So yeah, there's some really, really, really exciting things happening.
It's
I think
just
it's
phenomenal. It's phenomenal to me, and I look back and I don't want to look in the rear view too much. I wonder how many agents, had they had some of these tools, would have stuck around and been successful. Because I'm just as we're talking about this, I'm thinking in particular of one agent on my team, and his rationale was, hey, after I get X many sales, then I will invest in funnel. And I eventually got him to the point I was like, dude, just I will literally cover it for the first month if you don't make your money back. And he went back and dialed aged bonus leads, and he wrote 2,500 in premium on leads that he had disqualified dialing manually just a couple weeks previously. And he's like, dude, this is great. I can make like $100 an hour now. Um, and so I'm just really, what I'm excited for is we've got guys like you pushing the envelope on in an industry that's been slow to adapt, and all of the people who maybe, because he's part-time, he works as a valet, and it makes his life so much easier. And so for those people who are looking to make that jump to change their life, suddenly it becomes, if they just sit down and are willing to do the work, they don't have to learn 50 different tools
That's the thing.
and push through, is my phone number getting blocked? All of this. No, we got it all in one place now.
That's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. They get overwhelmed because they're like, oh, it's technology. I wanted this to be something that my parents in their 70s could just log into.
No excuses. Get on it.
I mean, if you think about all the things that a new agent has to learn before they have money going into their bank account,
There's a lot.
they have to learn how to order leads. They have to learn how to call leads, how to tie an appointment down to get them to show up. They have to learn how to do underwriting. They have to learn how to do quoting. They have to learn how to write an e-app and then get it issued. And all of this is done in funnel. So I can either take a new agent and teach them all these different things and show them all these different platforms, or I can take them to funnel. They can order their leads, have them delivered. We're going to make it even simpler to just sort your leads and call these. Don't worry about sorting. It's just going to do it for you. And using AI actually, but and then when you call your leads, and you can just click on auto dial, have it call through, so you don't have to have the stress of hitting send every single time, that anxiety, that dialing anxiety. You just have it on the first one, and that's it. And then once you go
Click the
into
green button.
yeah, and then you got the script right there on the screen. You have the quoting right there, all the products. It filters based on their health, based on medications. You got e-app links right there. So it's just so much easier. I actually onboard people using Funnel. I say, here's our system, and I teach them all the things they need to learn using Funnel. So to me, I don't really understand why anyone would say, okay, you need to write $20,000 before you get on. I would rather them have more success quickly than delay it. So,
Mm.
So putting the
but
cart before the horse
yeah,
if you're doing it. And that actually ties in very well to one thing that I know Elijah and I wanted to talk to you about was on our trip, I was talking to Joe Martinez, was a power user on Ninja. Like
a long
he's a big
He's an
fan of everything.
OG ninja
Yeah.
guy.
And his main thing was along the lines of what you're saying. But it ties into a couple of things that we've talked about is, there are certainly individuals out there who are, hey, I need to go make $20,000 a month. Joe's perspective was there's certainly people out there like that who this business will be great for. But he said the average person that he knows in America is making between $600 and $900 every 2 weeks. And he's like, that type person, is going to be really hard for them to go put all of these tools together. And so I'm curious from your standpoint, because he's like, that's who I want to help. I want to go help those people make the same amount of money or more working from home, not breaking their back, working in a restaurant or working on a construction site. And so I'm curious, when you look to hire and onboard people, is part of your goal with all of this to make it so that you don't need to go out and be looking for the next 20, 30, 40K a month producer. You can go find 5 people who just want to make the same amount of money or a bit more from home or, in an office with people. I guess, is it, hey, this is for everyone, it's gonna make everyone's life easier? Or is there a specific, I guess, persona that you're like, hey, we can help these people more?
I don't really have a preconceived idea of who it will help. It's really who has the drive and wants it. But I do want it to be so easy that anyone that doesn't have a tech background can do it. I mean, let's just be honest. Dialing has always been the the most painful part of the business. It always has been. I remember when we launched Virtual Mentor, and it was like this, the pain point that we were dealing with at that time is we wanted to create a huge team. We wanted to recruit hundreds of people. And I recruited like 10. And now I'm taking a Sunday night to go through 10 appointments with 10 people. It's 100 appointments, and I'm the bottleneck. I have to be the one to tell them what product to write. So we were like, out of selfish reasons, we wanted our time back. We create the virtual mentor so everyone can go figure out what product they want. And when we launched this, we had like 2 standing ovations in 10 minutes. And somebody came to us in the back of the room and said, "Man, what are you going to do next? Help us make our dials?" And we were like, "That's actually a really good idea." And so that was where it came from, and it was just like, we wanna make the hardest part, the most difficult part, the most painful part, less painful. Instead of making 30 dials an hour, what if you could make 130 dials an hour? You can book 4 times as many appointments in an hour as you could instead of 4 hours. So it's like giving people's time back, but just making people more profitable. There's gonna be people who just, no matter what, they don't want it bad enough, they're not gonna be willing to put in the work. And it's not those people that I'm looking for. It's the ones that really want this and just they have a certain amount of time to figure this out. And if they don't make enough money fast enough, they're gone.
Yep.
So if we
Yep.
can help them make money faster, that was one of the biggest things we wanted to solve is just condense that time frame of getting started and being profitable.
Mm. I
So
think one of the coolest things about this, Brad, is like you're an agent too. Like you're doing the thing we are talking about. You're not just making the software and then getting feedback from people who use it. Like you're building it with the background and experiences that you've had to build a $23 million a year insurance agency. And then our people are using it. And there's a guy on your team named Omar Diaz, which we got to get him on at
yes,
some point, who dude's a multiple Golden Pen year winner, which if you don't know what that means, the dude issued the most business that year consecutively, by the way. And he is a quick adopter. And when I heard him talk about Ninja back when Ninja was the thing, he was talking about how I wanted to be able to go spend more time with my kids on Saturdays. And that is the thing that Ninja enabled him to do because it cut his dial time in half and made him way more efficient. I just think that that's awesome. I think any piece of tech that's being built by the people who use it is going to be better than something that is made by people who are just selling technology. You know what I mean?
100%. And that's always been my mentality. Find the ones who are winning at the highest level and do what they do. So we went to guys like, I mean, I have my ways of doing things, but I would rather do things the way Omar does them because he's got a better result. So then we build funnel the way that Omar does things, the way that he sorts his leads, the way he calls through them. So the script and like everything has been from the top of the top so that new people can just copy them.
Hmm.
So that's a big benefit of using the platform is you get those resources, um, right away. So
Something that I wanna Xander and I both thought would be kinda cool to get into, is, and I think this will motivate some people as well, because one of the things, this is in the 3 things that you said that you wanted, out of Symmetry: make a difference, be passionate, make a lot of money. And, I wanna talk just briefly about that. We don't need to overshare anything. I mean, you have a $23 million a year agency. Brad is making money. No secret there. What's been something really cool that having money has been able to enabled you and your family to do? Is there something like really cool that you've been able to buy, or like I know Four Seasons is probably knows you guys on a first name basis at this point with the amount of travel y'all do, but give the people something like exciting to look forward to when they lock in, that the money will enable them to be able to experience and have. I want to hear some
yeah.
stuff about that.
So I'll kind of go through like a couple of phases that I went
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Um,
Love it. Love it.
the first one was the peace. It's that anxiety pit that just sits there, and when that goes away and you have this certainty, it is the most valuable thing.
Mm,
When you have just peace in knowing that life will never be worse than it is right now. It'll only get better. that is probably like what the day we paid off our debt, I can't tell you the feeling it was. It
Mm.
was just like everything in life was better.
The trees are greener, the air is fresher, the water's colder.
But then you start to go on these trips and it's like when you don't have to think about money and the stress and energy and mental drain is never there about money. Like you never even think about it. You're only focused on the things that actually matter, which is your relationships and your kids and your
Mm,
friendships and
that's good.
things that make you happy. And so that's why I say everything gets better. But being able to travel the world and experience things like I'm a big fan of having peak experiences over stuff. I have nice stuff. I like stuff. I don't buy like a lot of it. I don't have like a multi-million dollar house. It's a nice house, but it's not like I don't. I could. I like peak experiences. Like we've been to some really cool places around the world, um, and so that's awesome. Um, uh, we have some nice vehicles, and that's fun too. But the thing that to me was probably the most gratifying, rewarding was, like, my parents have been unbelievable. Um, they they're just amazing parents, and I'm just so grateful to have been raised by parents like that. And, to be able to, like, take over their bills so that they don't have to work. My dad had some health issues. It put a lot of stress on my mom. She was having to work when she had to come out of retirement, and it was just a lot of stress, just to be able to say, "You're not doing that anymore. Don't worry about it. Don't ever worry about it again." Uh, was
Mm.
just an awesome feeling. And then also kind of tied to that when Matt passed away to be able to just to for Aaron and the girls, like, they don't have to worry about bills at all. They've got everything covered, and it's just this business is unbelievable. I don't know where else you can go.
You took the words out
Create
of my mouth, man. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, it's
Well, kind of on that, one of the I guess tactically, there are a lot of people who would like to be in your shoes. I guess are there any again, a lead producer, top of the company, 23 million as an agency. Do you have any tactical tips as far as building as well as producing at a high level? Because we just talked to Dylan Crane the other day, and he's managed to do that fairly well, right? He went from maybe the top agent in the entire United States
Yeah.
last year and probably this year too, to now he's bringing people on in droves, and he had some thoughts, although he's a little bit newer to the game than you are. So he figured it out very quickly. Do you have any tips or tricks for maybe someone who's looking at this or maybe someone who's gotten good at production but feels like they're struggling to get their feet underneath them, recruiting and building as well? Anything that really helped you along that path?
It's a good question. There's a lot of tactical things that you can do, and that's actually changed a lot, like, with social media and the ways people recruit. Um, I have found that a lot of people focus on quantity, and what really matters is the quality of the recruits and the agents you bring on. Now, you typically have to go through the quantity in order to find the quality, but when you find the quality, you need to know how to attract them and work with them. And I always say, you're not looking for more people. You need to be looking for more people like you. Everyone says, I just want more people. No, you don't. You want more people like you.
Right.
So knowing who is your ideal recruit? If you could define your best recruit, how would you define them? You need to know that. Like, you tell me what you think. What would be some attributes, some past experience? Like, what would you say if you could define the next recruit and you would just be like, So excited to bring that person on. How would you describe him?
I would say me and Xander will probably have similar answers, but I would say somebody who is teachable and humble. I don't want to be dealing with somebody with a big ego and a lot of pride, thinking they know everything. Somebody who has some drive, and I'm not having to call them and get them out of bed in the morning and say, "Hey, are you dialing?" Like I want a self starter, somebody who is self motivated. Like that's one thing I learned from John Maxwell is he's not in the business of motivating people. He's really good at finding motivated people. And then I would say somebody who's like resilient when they get knocked down, when they get beat up, they are bouncing back and they have fight in them that keeps them going week in and week out because entrepreneurship, whether you're in insurance or you're doing something else, like entrepreneurship can have its fair share of stormy phases. And if you're not resilient, you will get knocked around and you might not stick around. But I would say those are like my three characteristics, if you will.
Really good. What about you, Xander? Anything you'd add to that?
Um, well, there's a reason Elijah and I are quite close. I don't think I could have defined it much better than that. I've had agents who have come, hey, I've been in the business for 20 years and we'll be on a phone call and I'll roll my eyes. I'm like, all right, this guy's not going to listen to you've been in the business almost longer than I've been alive. And then the resilience piece is absolutely massive to me. Like you're going to get no showed. You're going to get hung up on. People are going to curse you out, even though they filled out a form requesting for you to reach out to them. Um, I guess maybe an adjustment on that question would be when you find someone who is that ideal agent, do you have a favorite way to pour into them and continue to encourage them? Because like
Yeah.
the guy I was talking about on funnel, I mean, prior to getting on funnel, I saw him in the Zoom room before me some days, and he would be on listening to me run appointments until 9 p.m. And so I call him up. Hey, you're the man. You let me know anything and everything that you need from me. Like I am here for you, um, which is great. But again, you're where we're all trying to get to. Like, do you have specific ways of I not after you've identified that individual, then helping encourage them to continue doing the same things?
Yeah. So what people need when they're in the pit of despair is not more training. It's a reminder of their vision. It's to know that they're not alone, but it's even bigger than that. It's to be reminded of why they're here, where they're going. So I have that conversation of where they're going in the very beginning. So my ideal recruit, if I could define it, and I've thought about this for a long time. I'm not looking for top producers. I'm not looking for elite producers. I'll take them. I'll work with them. I'd love to have them. That's not my ideal recruit. I want people that are consistent. I want people that are humble and have drive. But if I could look at somebody's experience and know that they have that, it would be this. If somebody had a lot of success in the past, it doesn't necessarily have to be in business. They could have accomplished something great in school, but it helps if it's in business because you know that they had work ethic. But if they had a lot of success and lost it all, that would be my ideal recruit. They have developed work ethic. They have a proper expectation of what it takes to make a great income. They have a certain identity that's not there anymore. They have a certain self-confidence. They experienced success, and when it's not there anymore, it eats you alive, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get back there. You just need the right vehicle to do it. So if I can find that person and then have a very real conversation
Mm,
about, tell me about the peak of the past. What was it like? And when you have this conversation, you can hear people, like if you're on a phone call, you can hear them smiling over the phone, telling you about the peak of the past when things were great. They were at the top. And then it's the pain of the present. What happened? How did you lose it all? Who all did that affect? How long has it been the case? I know what that feels like. And it sucks. And you feel it. And I've had people go from smiling, telling about the peak of the past to crying about where they're at. And then it's about the third step that I go through is um, the vision for the future. And here's what I can see. for and sometimes, like they have kids or a spouse, and everyone's experiencing this loss and this time together, and it's not fun for anybody. But here's what I see, you and I locking arms, and it's going to take a lot of work, but we're going to do it together. You're not going to do this by yourself. I'm going to be right there with you. We're going to lock arms and do this together. And I see you in 2 years from now being on stage, telling your story of how your life is different, how you turned it around. You did what it took. And you know who's going to be in the audience with you? Your kids, your wife. Like, they're watching you go through this right now. They've seen you at your peak. They've seen you now where life is. And here's the thing that I know. Like, they learned a lot by watching that. What they haven't seen is what it takes to come back. And at some point, they're going to experience something similar to this. And they're going to think back to, what did mom do? What did dad do when things got tough? How did they get out of it? So you're writing a story that they're going to look back to. It's going to inspire them. And we're going to do it together. And it's that vision. And then I put up a 90-day, this is how we're going to do it. So you got to build up a little bit of a bridge. You can't leave them hanging in this dream of a future. You got to give them a little practical, here's what we're going to do. Can you commit to this? If you can commit to this, I'll be right here with you. And then when they're going through the pit of despair, it's reminding them, remember why we're doing this. You got this. I had a guy that used to make a lot of money, $400,000 or $500,000 a year, lost everything, getting ready to lose his home, like 60 to 90 days behind on his mortgage, getting ready to foreclose. And I was like, Jack, what is it going to take to catch up on your mortgage? $10,000. He couldn't even see it. He had been in this pit of despair for so long. $10,000 was so overwhelming. And I was like, that's not that much. Do you realize if you get this many leads, this many, you can make 10 grand in 30 days. I want you to imagine how good it's going to feel to walk into the bank, hand them $10,000, drive back to your house and tell your wife that you saved the home, that you're caught up. How good is that going to feel? And he starts crying. He said, okay, I'm going to do it. He wrote over $70,000 that next month because he knew why he wanted to do it. And he had this belief. So it's like, you're getting the right people, give them the right vision, give them the confidence that you can help get them there. And, yeah, so.
I couldn't have teed you up better for that, man. I was going to say one of the last things I wanted to talk about is like a coach grabbing the player's face mask and speaking some life into them before they send them out. And if you're not fired up about that or after that, just hit rewind about 60 seconds because I think I think one of the hallmark traits of a winning mentor and leader in this business is their ability to inspire, motivate, and remind people why they started. Because you can have some shit happen that makes you forget, and having somebody in battle with you to remind you that this is possible. You can do this. I'm with you. We're going to do it together. Sometimes that's all you need. And if you don't have that, Brad, how do people reach out to you, man? If somebody's listening to this and they're like, this guy is my people and I don't have this, not Agents in Symmetry, but we got people from other IMOs checking us out. How would people reach out to you? Are you a LinkedIn guy? Are you a Facebook guy? You don't strike me as a TikTok guy.
No, I need to continue to. I need to get in all the platforms, but I would say right now the best way is probably just Facebook. Just find me on
Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah,
Cool.
send me a message. And yeah, if I can encourage and you don't have to work directly with me, but I'd love to help in any way I can, anybody.
And you guys just had the SWAT event was just happened, right? Or is it about to happen? I know that's
Yeah,
the
Nate's doing that. I won't be at this next one. He's gonna be doing
Okay.
that. I think it's actually this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, he had one a little while back that I was a part of, but this one is
Nice.
starting, I think, tomorrow.
I love it. They do it every year. Every year. Well, Brad, thank you so much for being on, man. I got I got notes here and on my screen too, and I don't always take notes on these, but I got a ton out of this, and just super grateful for you carving out some time and pouring into the people and sharing your wisdom that you've accumulated over the years doing this at such a high level.
Man, I appreciate it. I couldn't have done it with all the people that have, like you mentioned in the very first part of the call, some really, really good people, great mentorship. And I just appreciate you guys and having me on and love to do it again.
That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Well, we'll catch you guys next week, every Friday or every other Friday if we're out of town, and get out there and go kick some tail. We'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.